And we are live.
Hello, and welcome to another thrilling episode of Those Aren't Biscuits, your weekly stuff podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadotte, and with me as always is the British gamer himself, Owen Adams.
Hello! How you doing?
Hi.
How you doing, sir? You happy?
I am joyful.
Joyful, joyful. Something, something. Na 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 na. It's not the end of that song, but, you know, I ran with it.
No, not at all.
I took a risk.
Yeah, you went with it.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. For those of you who may be new or just tuning in, this is a live talk show sort of thing, and so if you happen to be listening to one of our recorded episodes and you hear us talking about people in the chat, yeah, that's what we're doing. We take questions, we take suggestions. We'll talk about just about anything. And if you ever want to tune in, we do this broadcast every Monday, right around 3:30, 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, or 9:30, 10 o'clock GMT.
Yeah, running a little bit late today, but that's on me. I will take that. But
damn right,
yeah.
Damn right, you'll take that blame.
Well, all right, calm down.
Yeah, we're just doing a little housekeeping right off the bat, like we always do. Just get some links out there and whatnot. So
like professionals.
Yeah.
So the reason I was late, I'm going to get right into this, is...
Oh, yeah. You're gonna
yesterday, my microwave died. And
no. Mikey, no!
A microwave is one of those things, no one really wants to admit that they do like 90% of their cooking in it. But you do a lot. Like, it's one of those things you don't even really notice how often you use it until it's gone, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now this microwave, I've had this a long time. It was my dad's microwave, and when I found out my dad had died, my first thought was like, no! And my second thought was, I better get that microwave before the in-laws get it. Because...
Priorities.
Because the microwave I was using at that time was like 10 pounds. It had one of those dials that was, like, bust. Like, okay, we have to time this ourselves, because that ain't dinging anytime soon. And you couldn't fit, like, a whole dinner plate in it, you know? Like, if you had to reheat something, you had to shift it off onto two separate plates and do it one session at a time. But my dad had this amazing microwave. It was, like, 1,000 watts, and it was a built-in convection oven and grill.
That sounds awesome.
So I took that microwave, and I was very, very loved until yesterday, when it decided it just didn't want to do anything anymore. So it died. The only thing that worked on it was the clock, and I did consider using it, like moving it to the living room and having it as kind of just a fancy living room clock, like a designer clock for a while, but I figured it kind of burnt on...
Yes, this is my fully functional and not at all obtrusive microwave that I'm using only for a clock. It's my centerpiece, really. Right,
and this thing is almost the size of like a full cooker oven. It is like the microwave of the gods. Anyway, it died, so we had to order a new one, and we couldn't get one quite as good as that one, unfortunately. But we did get one that was also a built-in oven and grill, which was great. And it was supposed to arrive today. And as you guys know, I'm a live streamer. I stream from home all day. So when parcels come, I can usually be here to wait for them. But I tend to, if I know they're coming, not stream when I know they're coming, right? So they gave us a slot of 2 till 6. I was like, all right, I can catch up on some other stuff from 2 till 6. That's fine. I can wait. It'll probably be here around 3, 4, you know, and great. Dumb. 10 to 6 rolls around, and we're like, we're there, cutting it a little bit fine on that microwave, you know, like... Beth's home by this point. We're all starting to get a little bit hungry. We're like, we could use one of the other cooking implements, right? But then, you know... Then it wouldn't take 10 minutes.
It's principle.
Right. Yeah, then we have to wait for the preheat the oven, you know. We have to find some self-respect to upgrade from the microwave. We didn't have time for that.
perhaps using the oven would have led to eating a balanced meal,
right?
Something,
right?
If you have to do more, that shit.
If you have to do more preparation than PS foil 5 times, and then hit that button, and no one times a microwave properly. Everyone just hits that 30-second button till they get there, even if they're microwaving something for 45 minutes. You know what I mean? They're just all right, I'm just gonna hit this 30-second button until we hit the time. Good.
See, I always just eliminate the half minute, because you get that shit where it's oh, microwave this for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm I'm just gonna go with 4.
It's either 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna live dangerously here and maybe undercook my pre-cooked chicken patty.
Okay, so the chat says boil water, pot noodle. That's true. I could it in a pot noodle. So it gets to 10 to 6, so we're okay, well, this is definitely not a microwave here. And the thing about that is, at 10 to 6, you still feel kind of bad, because you're well, they did... technically, this delivery slot's not up yet. But if we don't phone now, and then you always run the risk of, the call center's gonna close at 1 minute past 6, if we don't do it now.
Right.
So we phone up, and the lady on the end says that there's some issue with the order where it hasn't gone through properly at the store. But the place we ordered it from, it's a catalog shop called Argos, which will be familiar to all British people. Catalog shops, they're like mail order companies, but they have high street storefronts where you can just go up and look stuff up in a catalog. So their depots are basically high street stores as well. So we're well, you can come collect it tomorrow if you like. Or we can get someone to send it out to you from there, And we're well, we've taken time off to sort this today, and we'd quite like it to be here today. Are you saying you can send it out tonight? And she says, yeah, it'll be, you're not far from the store, so they say it'll be 10 minutes. We're oh, 10 minutes? Great. They obviously, saw the order was wrong. They're going to send someone straight up. Great. Sorted. So we order it. We say, yeah, send it today. 10 minutes go by, and it's no microwave. And then 40 minutes go by, and we're should we call again? Should we?
But how are you able to keep time without your microwave?
Without my microwave clock, exactly. Because by this point, we've moved the existing microwave from its beloved space on the shelf.
I mean, at this point, we killed the cat, ate it. Things are looking dire.
We phone again, and she says, "Oh, well, there's some problem with the auto system." We're yeah, like last time, But they're gonna put the order through manually, and the managers are the only people in store. They're gonna sort it out for you. They're gonna send it. It's gonna be there within the hour. I'm wait a minute. So hold on. First it was 2 till 6. Fair enough. That order didn't go through. We get it. Then they were gonna send it up in 10 minutes. Now it's an hour. And what happened was somewhere on the other phone, they were all right, fine, we're gonna do that, 10 minutes. And then 9 minutes in, they were we don't have this microwave. We don't have one of these. I'm sure. This is we have really overestimated. Oh, they're calling back. Tell them it'll be an hour. Well, we can find one by then.
So what probably happened is that the driver is on his break.
Right.
But their microwave is broken,
he's in the back of the van, microwaving himself. Yeah, it's a pretty good microwave we got here.
But he's that idiot who left a little tinfoil on the package, so he just completely destroyed your microwave.
It just comes black, just charred. So
he doesn't even deliver it. He just throws it through your window with a note that says, "I'm sorry."
So 2 hours go by. It gets to the point where it's too late. We know they don't do deliveries after this time. We're okay, well, we've got to phone up again and basically assess the situation. And Beth's well, I can collect it tomorrow because I'm going to be in town. So we'll phone up. We will have the order switched to a collection. It's not coming tonight, that's fine. We phone them up and they say, yeah, it's too late tonight, we can't call the store anymore, and it's too late, it's done. We arrange a collection, they refund the cost of delivery, which is very nice, and then they also offer to compensate us for the price of a taxi home, because we don't drive, so if we go collect it, we're okay, fair enough, we'll take that. And we're like, all right, that's done. Fine. At least we know not to worry about it anymore. We'll sit down. We'll stop. We'll put the TV on. And I'm just about to send you a message to say, all right, that's fine. We can start doing the podcast now. And there's a knock at the door. And the tiredest looking man hands me a microwave.
Did he have a bit of microwave burrito on his corner of his mouth?
The microwave is sealed. It is in perfect condition. But obviously, like, someone had obviously said, okay, like, these people have complained like 3 times now. They've chased this up like 3 times, and the messages are getting like each one's getting like more irate. So just go drive them a microwave, you know, just go take it now. And he's looking at me with like I'm British, right? I could receive the worst service in the world, and that person's getting a thank you, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm just one of those people where when it's all done and it's all over, it doesn't matter what kind of terrible, ridiculous, shitty service I've had, I will happily say, all right, there we go, done, right? We can have a thank you. We'll pretend it went smoothly, and we'll all go our separate ways. But I've had such like an annoyed day waiting for this damn thing that I subconsciously delay on the thank you, right? Like I'm making him wait. And the eyes get, like, progressively more puppy dog. Like, and you can see it in his face, like, this is not coming. I'm not going to get a thank you. I've driven all my way out here, and I'm not going to get thanked for this. So he starts, like, explaining how many deliveries he's had to do before he did this one. And apparently what they did was he was just about to leave for his last delivery of the day. He's going all the way over the city I live in, right? Most of his deliveries are on the other side of town, completely. And just before they left, they went, okay, and take this as well. So, the guy had to do an entire 2-hour delivery route on one side of the city, and then drive 10 miles to the other side. So they must have not had the microwave at the store we ordered it from, phoned up every other store in Leeds until they found one that did, and be like, alright, just give whoever you've got a microwave and send them. I felt terrible, but I have my microwave now. I did some grilled cheese in it. That grill's good.
Wait, hold on, alright? So, you've been waiting the whole time for a microwave, alright? You made this poor bastard drive across town to get you your precious fucking microwave.
And I cooked something I could cook on my grill. That is correct, sir.
Yes! Something that takes a whopping 5 minutes to do on the stovetop. You're like, nope. I'm gonna make a subpar version of it on the microwave.
I should have said to him, I'm having guests and I hate them, so we're doing microwave food.
They're all getting Hot Pockets.
I'm having guests. They want their Pop-Tarts. I was like, don't you do Pop-Tarts in the toaster? Not these Pop-Tarts. They just come out soggy, flat Pop-Tarts. Microwave pastry. Finally, our microwave has arrived. I can make the lobster. The delivery man's crying as he sees deluxe, fresh out of the water, fished lobster just shoved in the microwave. Alive.
Wrapped in aluminum foil.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know why the last microwave broke. They're usually so reliant. It's on a metal plate. It's in one of those giant metal serving dishes where you lift the lid off. It's just sparks going. Just 30 seconds later, I'm like, okay, this one doesn't seem to work. You're gonna have to go get me a new one. Drive, monkey.
That's like that's how horror movies start, Owen. You know, like, like someday you're gonna be this picked up off the street, shoved into a dingy van, taken to a warehouse where he has built the largest microwave he's ever seen, and he's gonna put you in it. And he's like, popcorn setting. And that's how you'll die. That's how you're gonna die.
No, I
But I'm
can
glad you
live
got
with
your
that.
damn microwave.
So
And
that's
you made
my
a
day.
grilled cheese sandwich.
I realize it's not the most entertaining story in the world, but it was boring for me. Therefore, if I have to be bored waiting for a story about a microwave to end, so do you.
It just blows my mind. It really does. Like, don't worry. I'm not faulting you at all for anything. You know, if they promise you a damn microwave, you're supposed to get your damn microwave. What I'm faulting you for is making grilled cheese.
Hey, I
in
used
a
the
microwave.
grill. It was specifically to test the grill setting to see how good it was, and it was fine. I think what it does is I think it actually uses microwaves to heat up an element for the grill. So it's more like a traditional grill. It was okay, but you could tell it doesn't get as hot as the grill on the cooker, you know?
Right.
But, like, Americans and British people use grill differently, right?
Yes. Like, what I keep on imagining you're talking about, grill, is like the stovetop. Like, you have your oven and you have the 4 burners on the top.
Right.
Like, is that what you refer to as the grill?
No, the grill is heat from above. So in America, a grill is like a hot surface you put food onto, right?
Right.
Here, a grill is a heating element from above. Like you would do a cheese on toast under, you know what I mean? Without applying direct heat.
See, that's not even really a thing here.
Broiling is another word for it.
Yeah, okay, broiler. That's pretty close, I guess. But yeah, like, just the idea of, like, cooking from above just isn't that much of a thing here.
Right.
Like, our ovens, has the big element at the bottom, and then, you put your stuff in it to bake, and it bakes from the bottom.
Okay, it says, we do have toaster ovens like this, but they heat from top and bottom. It is kind of like that. It is kind of like that. Like, for here, like, we don't have grilled cheese that much, but we do have we have cheese on toast. And the way you normally cook a cheese on toast is you put it under the grill or the broiler until one side's brown, then you flip it over, put the cheese on, and then you do the same thing, you know?
And see, here grilled cheese is, you get a pan, you make your sandwich, right? You pre-make the sandwich, and you butter both outside sides of bread. And then you throw that sucker onto a pan.
See, the closest thing we have to that here is the Toasty Maker, which is like a it's a bit like a waffle iron, except it's not subdivided like a waffle iron. It's shaped like 2 sandwiches, you know. And then
yeah, we have those too, but you do have pans there, right?
Oh yeah, we got pans, but we wouldn't cook it in a pan, cheese grill that much. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be.
Oh, you should. It's so much better.
I'd be willing to try it, but I think most people would go for the. Do you know what I mean? The Toasty is the traditional thing. Like, what do you call those with the sandwich makers?
Sandwich makers. Like,
see, we call them
like.
We call those Toasties.
They don't have like a special name. They're like just like, oh, it's a toasted sandwich.
Okay, so there's panini grills like this too, but they squish the sandwich. No, a panini grill is similar, but the Toasty Makers, what you do is you put the cheese in or whatever you're having inside, and then you butter the bread on the outside, and then the grill clamps down so that the sandwich like seals. Does that make sense? Is that the same thing?
Right. Yeah.
Whereas panini grills more just cook without the sealing together kind of thing. Hello to Blaj in the chat. Hello to Gavin
I had
in the
one
chat.
back in the day.
But yeah.
I did have one. I used to make breakfast sandwiches out of them a lot.
Those toasty makers are really interesting because what they're best at really is filling space in your cupboard with stuff that you forgot you owned. Like everybody, they buy one of those things, and you buy one, and then for 3 weeks you're like, oh, I'm gonna do cheese and ham. Today I'm gonna do a dessert one with chocolate spread, or I'm gonna try jam, and it's gonna be like magma and melt my fucking mouth. and you do all these wonderful toasties, and then one day you're like, I'm just gonna unhook this so it's out of the way. It goes in the cupboard, and you never miss it. You never do a toasty again for 6 months, and then when you open it up again, you're like, see, I was like, I don't need to clean this because I'll get it out again in a day, and then sort of, I just need it out of the way for now. So actually, there's like something living in it, and I never want to use this again. I had a pie maker once, which was pretty good. It was like that, like the waffle iron, except on the bottom it had like pie dishes, you know? Mm-hmm. And on the top it was just a little pie surface, and you got pre-rolled pastry and cut it into circles with those little cookie cutters that came with the pie maker. Then you put like the big pastry in the bottom, fill it with filling, and then put the top on. And they would cook in 8 minutes. It was great. I loved it.
Oh, so I just want to let you know, Owen, Frank Bugia has a problem with how you pronounce his name.
Oh, fair enough. Hey, Frank, how you doing, man? I used to pronounce Gavin's name Gavin, but then he said he preferred it as Gavin. But it was pronounced Gavin, but since he'd moved, like, people mostly said Gavin and he liked it. So I said, I couldn't remember the next time which one it was he'd said he preferred. And he said, you can call me whatever you like. So I decided on Frank, and he doesn't like that, which I think is bullshit.
Well, Frank's a great name. It's a strong name. You know?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
All right, yeah.
So what have you been doing, by the way? So I told my microwave story. I was really annoyed about that. So I got off on one of my microwave story. How are you?
I've been pretty good lately. I don't know. Haven't been doing too much. So I was telling, I think during one of your Owen Watch streams, I was telling about how I've been trying to eat healthier.
Uh-huh.
And
is that done now?
And one of the no. But you know, when you eat healthy, you do kind of give yourself like a cheat day. You know, like, you know, I've been eating hard-boiled eggs and, you know, baked chicken breasts and yogurt all fucking week. Like, I need something else in my body. And that's when you do your cheat day. And so yesterday was my cheat day, and I woke up with the strongest craving for Taco Bell I've ever had in my life. And I love Taco Bell. Taco Bell is by far my favorite fast food place.
You do this just because you know we don't have them, don't you?
I thought you guys were getting one.
We are getting one. I haven't been there yet. I'm trying to remember where it was. I'll look up and see where it's opening. I will go if it's nearby.
But
I think it's Bradford. I can get that.
So the problem is like the closest one to me is it's about like a 28-minute drive.
Right.
And so I had to come to terms with myself, like, all right, Jonathan, are you really going to have to... Because first you're going to have to stop at the gas station, put gas in the car, and then drive 28 miles or so for, like, $8 worth of food. Right? But I did it, and I don't regret it. Got my food, ate it. Actually got in contact with a friend of mine who lived just a little bit further away. So I went and hung out with them for a while. And then on the way back, I'm like, well, it is my cheat day. And I did drive all this way. So I got Taco Bell again on the way back. And the funny thing is, I thought for sure that they would have like changed shifts by this point. But when I pull into that drive-through, their drive-through window isn't like your typical like small window where you can like, you know, it kind of looks like that Elephant Man cage where it's just like, you know.
The guy just leans out and says, "Sir, you sicken me."
Well, I pull in and the door swings open, and also I recognize 5 faces that I just saw about 6 hours earlier.
They've all come to stare. It's you, right? The Elephant Man, the bearded lady, and the 2 Taco Bells in a day man.
And the guy goes, he hands me the food, and he literally goes, "Yeah, it's pretty good."
He holds onto your face, pulls your eyes to his, and says, "You're the only one who ever came back
alive."
I like it.
But it was like, I couldn't imagine, like, they take my order and the guy just has this moment like, "Oh my God, I think it's the same guy. Jimmy, Bobby, Greg, Sandra, Shaniqua, come check this out."
It finally happened.
And the window opens and they were all looking out. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like, "Look at this disgusting specimen. 2 quesadillas in one day. 2 chalupas.
And then
That's not even the standard side dish.
At the bottom of the at the bottom of the screen, it just says 3 hours earlier. Hey Steve, I bet if I spit in this guy's food, he'll never come back.
My God, maybe there's something in my spit. It's like mind control. He just goes around the rest of his day just spitting in people's face. "Do what I command." What the fuck, man? Guy just spit in my face. "Yes, now go rob a bank." I'm not gonna rob a bank. You just spit in my face.
It is I, Superman, addictive saliva man. Kiss me.
If you dare. Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to kissing you. Like, I'm open to new things, but your name is Addictive Saliva Man, so I just I'm gonna have to pass.
This seems like a no-brainer, really. That I should not kiss the man with the mind-controlled saliva.
I mean, I know I got this reputation of being kind of a dunce, you know, well, Batman's so amazing, but even a big idiot like me think I'm just gonna let this one go. But
Jimmy, no!
He has strawberry lip gloss. I can't resist.
Yeah, I guess that.
Jimmy, how do you feel now? Well, I don't feel compelled to do anything, but I think I've discovered new things about myself. Thank you, Addictive Saliva Man. Thank you. I've been living a lie.
Jimmy, you're not my pal anymore.
Oh, I don't care, Superman, as long as you keep wearing that tight red underwear.
To be fair, I think that happened anyway.
What?
Blodge wants to know what cheat day is. Cheating on the diet, Blodge.
Yeah, pretty much. And everything else. Once a week, I cheat on my loved ones. I go sign up for SATs, and I cheat on the SATs, and when I come to a stoplight, I kind of cheat forward a little bit, so I got a little extra get up and go when it turns green.
I know how you feel though, because like I generally think of myself as someone who I will eat junk food. I'm genuinely very careless about what I eat. But I think of myself as someone who doesn't have a lot of strong preferences for food. Like, there's stuff I like, and the stuff I could be out and be like, oh yeah, KFC would be really nice, stuff like that. But when people ask me my favorite food, I'm stumped. I'm like, huh, really? I don't know. But then, if I'm going through, like you say, a healthy eating phase, if I'm trying to diet, or if, for example, we're cutting down on on, like, we're trying to be financially good, so we cut down on, like, ordering food and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I suddenly become deeply, like, on a cellular level, aware of just how much I like pizza. like it just starts cutting really deep into me. This, like, it's like finding God almost inside, like that much of a revelation. If I'm on a diet a few weeks in, it starts to hit me. Man, I really like pizza.
You ever had pizza with cauliflower crust?
No, what's that?
Oh, this is amazing. This is something that it's been gaining popularity, like especially on like Facebook and shit. Because I don't know, at least my Facebook, I have a lot of female friends on Facebook who love like Pinterest and shit like that.
Right.
So I see this. I've seen it all the time, but it's basically instead of a bread crust, it's finely chopped cauliflower mixed with egg and a bit of mozzarella cheese. And you bake it like that, you know, with all your toppings on there too. But it eliminates all like the carbs and
gluten.
And, like, gluten, yeah. And it's really good. It actually doesn't. It tastes like a normal pizza.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really good.
I might look into that.
Yeah, I really liked it. I was really surprised. And then, like, if you really want to kind of make it healthier, you know, you skip on the pepperoni, you skip on the sausage and stuff. And I've been using just like little cherry tomatoes, and I dice those up and I dice up garlic cloves, and I use those as a topping. It's pretty damn good.
I've been making my own pizza recently, because it's cheaper and because we have a bread maker, so like making dough isn't that much of a pain. It's been turning out really nice, but I was using like really strong bread flour, so the first ones turned out like brioche, almost, like not as sweet, but like that. It was pretty dense.
It's funny, like you definitely have that like typical guy not working during the day kind of thing where it's like,
yeah, this is absolutely what happened.
My wife comes home. Hey, what's up? Oh, I'm working on a fresh new loaf of sourdough.
Yeah. Well, I specifically took this on because I specifically ended up doing this because a few weeks ago I just felt really overloaded one day, and Beth was like, "You don't have to do anything today, you know. Like if you don't want to,
right.
Like you set what you need to do today. Like do what you want." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna learn to make pizza." So I did. And then I'm like, oh, like I've got it down to a fine art now. I'm like, okay, so I make the sauce in the saucepan, and it's best to make the sauce a day in advance because then it gives chance for the herbs to really get into the flavor. So yeah, I'm like,
that is such a guy thing, though, right? I mean, I think that's one of those things that I think like transcends like nationalities. It's like you give a guy a day to himself where he has nothing going on at all, he's gonna find a new hobby. Like,
right? Yeah, well, I'll just do that.
I remember one day, for a brief moment in time, I was unemployed, and my ex-girlfriend was working, and I'm sitting there at home one day, just completely bored out of my mind. You know, I knew I didn't have to go to work that day or the next day. And I spent like an hour, closer to 2 hours actually, researching urban beekeeping.
It's great.
And the funny thing is that I was watching these like tutorials on YouTube about it. When my girlfriend came home, she stops dead in the tracks, looks at the TV, and goes, "No, fucking no." I'm like, "What? It'd be kind of fun." She's like, "No." Like, all right.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No, the one I very similarly, but more gross. I was trying to convince Beth that we should have a wormery at one point, Because I was reading all about, like, you've seen you put the earthworms in and you get, like, really, really great compost.
Right.
I was like, you get this really high quality, they called it black gold compost and stuff. And eventually we realized, like, we didn't have a garden upon which to use the compost. But I was like, God, come on, wormery, it'll be cool.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the list of stupid things that I've researched to try to. I don't know. One time I was sitting there and I had the day to myself. And I was looking out my back window, and I have a little bit of free space back there, and and the soil's pretty good around here. I'm thinking like, I could probably have a good 3 rows of grapevine. I can make my own wine. I love wine. Why don't I just make my own wine? I started looking into it. It's like, oh yeah, for like a single bottle of wine, you need like X amount of grapes and stuff. I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I can make that much.
The flip side of this thing, though, is that once it becomes routine, it's not that I have a free day, let's invent a hobby anymore. You're like, you know what? I really can't be bothered with the wormery anymore. I'm just gonna let those worms die.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, maybe I should, head into the shed and, maybe finish that paper making project I had.
Right.
Fuck it. Who needs paper in the digital age, anyways?
Yeah, I don't need paper. I got an iPhone.
Right.
I know. I'll invent an iPhone.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder how hard it is to make a tablet.
Blush says we have a small vineyard at home where I'm from. Ooh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's honest. That depends on how small. If it's like one grape, it's not that interesting. I'm sure it's very interesting. All right.
Vineyards are actually a thing that's actually becoming very popular in Wisconsin because they've discovered that a lot of there's certain areas of Wisconsin, especially along like the Mississippi River, that the climate and like the soil structure is actually very similar to like that of Bordeaux, France.
Discovered by the Scientific Institute of the Wisconsin Board of Tourism. And in France they're saying this new Milwaukee Bordeaux is very milky.
Oh, it's beer. It's just beer.
it's just Budweiser. Someone's taken a big black marker and scribbled through it, just written underneath, wine.
a black Sharpie, just. Come, try our famous cheese wine. Everyone likes cheese with wine. We said, let's take out the middleman. Let's just. It's just a bottle of grape juice with vodka and cheese whiz in it. Just. Delicious.
Cheese wine. And at the bottom, just a sediment of biscuits at the bottom. Cheese biscuits. Sediment of crackers. And an olive.
Why the olive?
Just because you always get one on that, don't you? Excuse me, sir. Would you like the wine? Would you like the wine and cheese bringing? It's the new brand from Wisconsin. It's just like a paste with the consistency of cheese whiz, periodically intermittent by a sparkling Chardonnay. All over the place.
Just little pools of wine and like oil where the cheese is separated. Like,
They give you one of those spoons you get with a McFlurry.
like the spork, you know.
July, a very good month.
It's the only month. Do you have this in vintage? No, you don't want that.
Yeah. The cheese, the cheese doesn't age as good as the wine. It really cancels itself out. It just stays mediocre.
I would really like to try it though. Oh, I think we have a bottle from 2 months ago that's still in the back of the refrigerator that we kind of just forgot about.
He passes the bottle and says, "Did you say this was in the refrigerator? It feels pretty warm." Yeah, that's the mold. It
generates heat.
It sure does like to ferment in there. You open it up and it just goes.
All right,
It just goes. Oh, it's sparkling wine. Nope.
Oh, let me just uncork this real quick. Poop. Kill me. Kill me.
Quit.
Uncork it. I've seen through time and space and the void. Oh, okay. Apparently the wine had grown sentient and became a Philip K. Dick novel. Okay.
Okay, it says, you know how people across the pond dislike peanut butter? This sounds like mixing peanut butter and jelly before serving it. You gotta keep them separated.
Nope.
Here
no,
we actually sell jars of peanut butter and jelly that are like spiral, you know? Like,
yeah, we have that too.
Yeah, very cool.
It's called Goober.
It's a touch insensitive.
Is it?
I don't know. So what have you been doing, John? How are you? What we should talk about today?
I've been doing pretty good. So yeah, what have I been doing? Well, actually, as kind of a follow-up from a brief discussion we had last week, I took it upon myself to watch, not all of them because I wanted to remain sane, but I started watching those Poppy videos.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And they're disturbing as hell.
Oh, yeah? I didn't get
Yeah.
around to watching them. I didn't mean to. But I don't know. In the 12 hours I was waiting for a microwave today, I just didn't find the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the modern world we live in these days, you know? Just go, go, go.
Yeah, I'm like that guy from that film with the file effects.
What?
Hey, if I wanted to be more specific, I would have been more specific.
Okay. So yeah, I've been watching these. I want to know what the fuck you're talking about now, but but I've been watching the Poppy videos, and for those who not aware of what these are, they are a series of videos on YouTube that center around this kind of ambiguously aged girl. It's
Ambiguously aged.
It's
Are we
clear
back
that-
on the cheese wine?
What I mean is, like, it's very hard to tell exactly how, like, old she's supposed to be. Because there's some times where they have her dressed like she's
Right.
3, you know, and but then like you see like some of her music videos and there's some very overtly sexual tones going on, and so I mean, it's part of the gimmick, right? It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, and that's the whole point of this. It's supposed to, it's designed to be a thing that isn't overtly horror, but has the unpleasantness that horror tends to bring out. And it's just one of the things that's just kind of hard to kind of wrap your head around it. Because there's a lot of talk about, like, oh, you know, is it a parody of pop music or celebrityism? Is this something even more sinister? Is there some sort of you know, Illuminati bullshit going on with it? And it's, but all the videos are designed to be like a minute long, and it's just her saying just some random bullshit most of the time, but they splice it with like some kind of sinister music in the background,
right?
Because like that's the weird thing about it, is that if it was just her, the white background, and no background music, it'd just be like, okay, this is just crazy for being crazy's sake,
right? Which I respect.
But, right, you know, I can appreciate that. But they add the music, and it's always this kind of discordant, just one or two notes that just kind of drag on and on and on in the background. It's very uncomfortable to listen to. And then you match it with the random shit that she's saying, and all of a sudden you get this feeling of, no, this is, I'm not okay with this.
In a few weeks, it'll be exactly the same, but it'll be this podcast playing in the background. Like, this is,
no, I'm not okay with this.
This is making me very uncomfortable.
They're talking about David Hasselhoff's Nick Fury again. No. Maybe that's just me.
Would I? Why would they talk about that? It's a long dead piece of information. You'd have to be very strange to keep bringing that up.
You have to be a fucking bastard. So, I'm watching it, and the thing that I noticed, though, was there is a shift in tone from the earlier ones to the later ones.
Right.
Because they're all creepy. Like, every one of them is creepy. But there's a certain point where it feels like they start to, like, double down on it. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's a case of people started to pick up on the channel, and it got more popularity. And so instead of being, like, I guess, more clever about it, they started just being, the creepiness started to become very produced. It was no longer, this is creepy because it makes you feel comfortable. It becomes, this is creepy because what we're doing is actually just creepy.
Right.
And it kind of annoyed me a little bit. Because
the creepy shit posting has lost its integrity.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like, it's like, I don't mean to be like that, but yeah, it kind of is.
It's pretty funny.
But I try to do my due diligence, and I watched as much as I could, and then I watched a few other videos of people like trying to talk about their theories on it, not just the game theory ones, but there's a few other videos out there where people talk about it and try to unveil the secret messages. And there is one of those videos that really caught my attention. It was this guy explaining that there's actually a much longer history with the Poppy thing than just the channel. So the guy who does these videos goes by the name of Titanic Sinclair. Not his real name. But he has like a second channel. What's that?
I said, really? No, that's a pseudonym?
Hey. Like, there's some weird-ass names out there these days. You never can tell. But he does another channel where it's almost the exact same thing, except it's him talking kind of about the process of creating things.
Right.
But it's still in the same sort of oh, well, do you know what rhymes with breath? Death. That sort of shit, right?
Right.
But this guy also had this other project that happened a few years ago. This Mars Argo thing. And once again, it was kind of along the same lines, where it was all this very abstract wording of things wrapped up in this idea of people trying to become musicians. And one of the girl that was focused on, like, decided to leave, and they just made like one kind of tweet where it's like, oh, Mars Argo doesn't want to create anymore. And then, like, earlier, or late 2016, I think, they post a video with the old girl, this Mars Argo girl, talking into a webcam and doing very much the same thing of, random nonsense. But this time she's, like, waving a gun around her own head, and she's chewing gum, and towards the end she starts to, like, basically spit out blood. And then it just cuts away with a lot of, like, scrambled speech in the background. And they posted that video on the old, like, Mars Argo thing. And then coincided with it, the Poppy stuff started to reference things from that video. And that's what actually kind of kept me interested.
Do you ever wonder what the point is, though?
That's just a creator thing, right? Where it's like, you look at, like, Jackson Pollock. It's like, why? What's the point? It's...
So you think this is the YouTube equivalent of a Jackson Pollock? It's not really meant to make sense, but it's conceptually interesting?
I think it's 100% self-aggrandizing for the people who make it.
Right.
I feel like they feel very strongly about this stuff.
But have you noticed, if something that's self-aggrandizing, it really only becomes that embarrassing kind of self-aggrandizing if you fail? Like, if they were doing it for years and years and months and nobody had noticed, it would be kind of embarrassing. But the fact that it actually seems to be gathering attention in exactly the way they hoped kind of makes it come around to actually being interesting.
Yeah, what I can say about it is, content aside, I can appreciate if it in fact something that they've been, like, working on for years and years, and they've been playing the long game the whole time.
Right.
I can appreciate that, because that's a level of commitment that I don't know I'd ever have to a project. But at the same time, it's like, is it... I can appreciate the intent, but is the content even interesting enough to watch, and I don't know
Well,
if it
you
is.
watched it.
What?
You watched it.
Oh, sure, I did it for the show. And I didn't even watch the whole collection. I think I watched 20 of the videos, and then I watched some other people's take on it.
Oh, sure, but like, I mean, we're not a particularly big podcast, right? Fair enough. We're not going to be making that big of an influence. But they did succeed in getting somebody to watch some episodes and then talk about it on their show, you know?
Yeah.
And all they have to do is get a few people with more influence than us to do that, and then you've started a thing, I guess, you know?
Well, and okay, so here's the really weird thing about this, all right? That makes me really kind of question the actual integrity of this art project, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right.
Poppy actually has a record deal. A legit record deal. With Island Records. Not some made up bullshit like, oh, my record. She has record execs in her life. Like, and they don't hide that. She has her own Vivo channel where they post her music videos, and it says, Island Records at the end of every one. Like, so clearly, like, Island has to be aware of, like, what they're doing here.
Right.
And it's
so
like,
you think there's something manufactured to it? Like it's contrived
absolutely.
weirdness?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if it was like just this guy and this actress and a few other people like, hey, we're going to do this thing. It's going to be crazy. We'll see what happens. But they had to like get approval for this shit, right? Like, this was something that had to be completely like
planned,
made up from the get-go, every step of the way. Like,
which does render it more hollow, I think, because then your reaction is, well, this is just a different type of marketing.
Right. It definitely it definitely rings to that whole well, people watch weird shit on YouTube. Let's capitalize on that,
Right, let's be the weirdest.
Yeah. And here's this guy who did this thing, this Mars Argo thing. What if we get him to do ours?
I see what you mean. And when you look at it that way, it's also a lot safer than it seems.
Right. It just... So, I mean... If people get into it and they dig it and they like searching for the clues and stuff like that, that's fine. But to me, it's like, this stuff isn't all that interesting. It's one of the things where they don't even necessarily have like a decent like narrative to the whole thing.
No, well, they don't need one. All they need to do is be weird enough that people will look.
Right. So it's this, it's that being obscure for obscureness sake. And once you find out that, yeah, she has a legit record deal, then it definitely feels very just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
I'm thrilled by the fact that we talked about this yesterday, and you got all excited to look into it, and you decided it was just cynical and boring, which I find that kind of fun. I like to see you disappointed.
Right. I mean, if it had been okay. The fact is, like, they're on like 300 videos or some shit like that.
Right, but they'll have filmed all those in a day. Then they'll send them away to some professional editor who'll have edited music, got it down to clips,
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm looking at the Twitter account now, which is pretty weird, but it'll all just be run by, that guy.
Right, and I think maybe had they narrowed their focus a little bit and be like, okay, we want to tell the story of this girl who, you know, is some sort of manufactured product, and she's discovering her own sentience, and she doesn't like this anymore, and you can see little hints of the people pulling the string, and she's saying stuff like, please help me, get me out of here, I want to go to Japan, stuff like that. If they would have just been like, okay, we're going to do that, but we're going to do that in like 150 videos rather than, whatever they're at now.
Right, but the reality is that's not really what they're doing, is it? You know what I mean?
No, they're going to string it out.
And it's not ever going to go anywhere or be anything decisive. Because that is less safe.
Right. And
the idea of it actually being a narrative is a gamble.
Right. And it's just this idea of, like, they're banking on the creepypasta mystery of the internet, right? It's like someday the channel will stop. It'll just stop. You'll never see another upload from it again.
Right, and whoever the real person
point,
and whoever the real person behind Poppy is, eventually there'll be a day where it'll just be a normal person.
Right. And you'll never get any closure with it. And then what they'll do is they'll then every so often they'll be like, oh, remember this? And they'll post another like crazy video to see if it garners any attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what I did.
Should we do some questions?
Yeah, let's do so.
Alright, let's check out some questions. The Unknown Guardian says, what kind of cats do you guys have? And if you don't have a cat, what animal would you get? I have a domestic shorthair. Honestly, the question about what type of cat you have, unless you really do have, like, one of the few, like, known breeds, it really doesn't last as long as the what type of dog do you have conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
There just isn't as much in it.
My cat's Ginger. He's a ginger.
Yeah, mine is a tortoiseshell. But I'm guessing it is just a domestic shorthair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a cat.
Mm-hmm.
What type of animal would you get if you didn't have a cat?
I don't know why, but I always thought it'd be kind of cool to have like a pet hedgehog. I think those things look cool.
Yeah, makes sense. I would have, I don't know, Jimmy Durante. Did you ever have the feeling that you want? I could just do it. I could take him. I'd be like, people say, no, you can't bring Jimmy Durante into this store. And I would pretend to be blind. I'd be like, he's a guide, Jimmy Durante. Now, Jimmy, take me to the chocolate biscuits. I'm the guy that found the secret chord. Did you ever have the feeling that you wanted to go? He's found it. He's caught the scent. Go, Jimmy. Sorry. I couldn't think of an animal. And Jimmy Durante seems more like an animal than most animals.
What if
we talking about?
What if I have the complete band, the Animals?
Yeah. No, you can only have Burden. That's it.
Just every day, just wake up to, House of the Rising Sun.
But only his part. The other comment we got was from Brandon Plays, who says, "How have you all been? I have been well." I think we covered that at the beginning.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Yeah.
And that's pretty much all of the questions. We've got a few comments, I suppose. Scott says, it's manufactured, but so much of it is anyway. The Japanese pop idols are alarmingly close to aspects of Poppy.
Right, and I mean, I think that's definitely something they're trying to key in on, is stuff like that, because, I mean, especially nowadays with, like, the kawaii culture kind of being internet relevant, So that's definitely something you're keying in on. I mean, what this really feels like to me is, for those who don't know some music history, but when punk became very popular in the mid to late 70s
Right.
and into the 80s, you had a lot of these punk bands popping up that they're like, oh yeah, fuck the establishment, and
Right, and they were manufactured
they're
record
100%.
company projects.
Yeah, Sex Pistols. The Sex Pistols were a manufactured band.
Yeah. And they were like the birth of punk.
Right. I mean, it was just this thing where an AR guy uncovered a music scene that was going on in London at the time, and just ran with it. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, let's get on top of this thing.
Because business has no qualms about that, or ideology, or loyalty to a position,
Mm-hmm.
This idea that
our-
the business is ever the establishment is kind of nonsense. Because they will betray the establishment for $1,
Right. And there's other examples. The Monkees, they were famously manufactured.
The thing about the Monkees being manufactured, a lot of people were kind of down on that at the time, right? But I always thought that was kind of the joke, When
Right.
you actually-
It was one of those things.
When you
like,
look at
it
that
was-
TV show,
Well, and that was the thing about it, is that they were manufactured, but didn't try to hide it.
Right.
They were just like, hey, we put together this band, watch their funny hijinks on the television show, buy the records.
That's
if you
kind
like
of the thing
music,
about the
you like music.
Monkees, isn't it? They weren't really a band. They were actors in a TV show playing a band that also
But
did
to give
some
them credit,
albums.
they all did turn around and learned how to play their instruments, and
Yeah.
their later albums were them.
Oh, sure, but originally the idea
know-
was to have a TV show that was like the Beatles movies, right?
Right.
And I actually like the Monkees. I think they were okay. I think they had
Yeah.
appeal.
Yeah, Last Train to Clarksville is a good song.
I think a lot of their early songs. I think Daydream Believer's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that they actually wrote themselves, too.
I did not know that. I thought it
yeah,
was just
that was,
a TV show one.
No, because that's the one with all the kind of strange lyrics, right?
Yeah. Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Something like that.
Right, that was actually, fuck, I'm gonna mix up their name. Torque. That was Peter Tork's song. He wrote it. And there's actually kind of a fight with the band over it because none of them got it. They're like, what the fuck is this? But he pushed for it and became one of their biggest hits,
Interesting.
if not their biggest hits. So yeah, I mean, like the whole idea of this manufactured stuff it's not new. And I think this whole poppy thing is just another example of a record company trying to pick up on something that's popular. Creepypastas are popular on the internet. So
And
if
it
you
won't be-
manufacture one,
It won't be the last one either.
no, by good God, no.
Like, the issue isn't that record companies started manufacturing groups. Really. Like, everybody says, oh, all music is manufactured these days. That really isn't the problem. The problem is they just got sucky at it. You know? They just
Right,
got
I
very
mean,
bad at doing it well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have nothing against manufactured, music groups, because some of them still put out good stuff to listen to. Say what you will, I think the Spice Girls are legitimately good. Like, I like a lot of their music. I couldn't admit to it back in the day because I would have been beaten to a pulp on the schoolyard. But, like, Spice Girls had some pretty fun songs. And they're manufactured bands, 100% manufactured.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. To a smaller extent, the Beatles were almost manufactured. These were all members of, they were all members of like different bands at first. And that's where you get this whole story behind like Pete Best, being ousted because he didn't quite fit the role
Right.
that they wanted.
But did give me my favorite ever joke in in the TV series I'm Alan Partridge, when someone asks him what his favorite Beatles album is, and he says, Best of the Beatles.
Yeah.
I always love that gag.
Which, if you don't know, that's actually an incredibly, like, if you get your hands on that original pressing of Best of the Beatles, it's like worth a lot of money.
Well, they sued, didn't they? Over that one.
I think so. I imagine you would have to, right? It's out of principle.
For people who do not get this, Best of the Beatles is not, in fact, a Beatles album.
No.
But you know what? I must admit, you kind of have to give him that, right? A little bit. Like, obviously they sued. Obviously they had to sue. But if you'd been in the Beatles and your surname was Best, you gotta try it, haven't you?
Yeah, you gotta go for it.
You gotta give it a little go. That's also applicable to the old former drummer of the Rolling Stones, Greatest Shits, who who are less well known, but attempted it. Didn't quite get as far as Pete Best. It's a terrible joke. I really tried to get it out there in time. I couldn't think of an alternate name for Greatest Hits, though.
It's like, yeah, it was our original bassist, Alan Collection. So...
The Rolling Stones, a collection.
Collection, yeah.
I like that.
But then they have to change it where the Rolling Stones has like a little apostrophe at the end and no one notices. So
it's the tiniest apostrophe. It's like the main fault's like 24 pt. This is like 4.
it's 1 pixel.
And he goes to a lengthy court case about whether 1 pixel could technically be considered an apostrophe, whether it has the requisite shape. So they reprint it with a black pixel and then like a little gray pixel underneath. I could get into that. Oh, that'd be good. What is it with famous bands and having like one member they ditch?
Because there's always that one asshole in the band, right? Because here's the thing, right? If tomorrow we get contacted by, I don't know, Rooster Teeth or something like that, and like, hey, we want to co-opt your show. We really like what you guys are doing. Work for us, and everything like that. And I would sell out in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yeah, I'm in.
Right.
But if Owen's like, oh man, it's going to ruin the integrity of the show, man. It's all about the, preserving the purity of the podcast form or something. I'd be like, well, it's been good, man. Sorry.
Have you ever heard about the drummer from Simply Red?
Simply Red. Are they the ones who did,
It was the band Mick Hucknall was in. They did, Fairground. And I love the thought of coming home to you. I don't know. Maybe Simply Red's just mostly well known in Britain. Alright, I'm gonna go see what that biggest hit in the US was, right? Alright. Simply Red, biggest US song.
I feel like is that the band who did, like, I Want to Kiss You All Over?
I'm sorry, you started another sentence halfway through your first one there, and I'm flattered, but,
And over again.
Hold on, right, I'm looking at US...
I wanna kiss you all over.
It does sound a bit like... Let's see, they got, Holding Back the Years. Holding back the years. I'm still holding on. Remember that one?
Okay, yeah.
Money's too tight to mention. Remember that one? You know that one?
Not so much.
Sometimes all I need is the air that I breathe. That one?
Okay, I know that song. Yeah.
There we go. That's Simply Red. Anyway, they started off with an original lineup, like most bands do, you know, that established the band, right? And then, but they were a soul band, really, like a reggae soul band a little bit. Not much reggae, but they were a little bit like UB40, but with more soul than reggae. Why am I saying reggae? They were mostly soul. Anyway, they...
So, no actual reggae involved.
Right. So they were establishing themselves for a few years, and then they start to do an album, and the band starts to get a little bit more experimental, leaning into a little bit of more electronic music, a little bit, you know?
Okay.
And mostly when you start experimenting with electronic music, you talk about the drums, right? So they start experimenting with more and more electronic music.
Pete Seeger shows up with an axe.
And the drummer's like, ha boo. And then the drummer starts to get a little bit tetchy. He's like, look, I'm barely on this album, right? You know?
Right.
And they start to get more and more into this. And they hire a guy. And I'm going to find the name of this guy. Kenji Suzuki. That's him. They hire a guy because the original drummer of the band's like, the stuff that we want to do this album, I can't do it. Like, I'm a drummer. I'm not a computer programmer, you know what I mean? I'm not that kind of drummer, right? So they start working more and more with this guy Kenji Suzuki, who starts to take over more and more of the work on the albums, and the original drummer's getting like kind of more and more pissed off, because what's happening is he's less and less involved in the albums, and every time they go on tour, all the drum parts for the songs come from the electronic stuff, and he's like, I can't even play this, like physically, I don't play this. So then Kenji Suzuki's like, oh, well, I play the drums as well. And it would kind of be easier for me to just take the stuff that I did in the drum machine, and then I could just play it live. So one day he shows up to rehearsal, and the guy who'd been programming his electronic drums more and more on the album is just like, oh yeah, I'm the drummer now. And he completely ousted and replaced by a drum machine. That's bad, right? That's gotta hurt, you know? Because everyone thinks that when you're a big celebrity, you think you've reached that level of employment where you can't be automated and replaced by a machine. But if you're the drummer of Simply Red, no, you can.
Well, we were actually joking about this at work the other day, and I told them like, look, if they find a way to make a robot do my job, you know, it would suck. But I know it wouldn't have to suck for long, because that's the quickest route to Skynet you could possibly imagine. Like, if there's a robot who had to do my job, within one day, be like, well, clearly the only solution for this is to eliminate mankind.
Yeah. Well, all you can really hope is that eventually you would reach a point where the robots hate your job as much as you do. Do you know what I mean? like eventually
robot calls in sick.
Eventually you've got to hope the robots reach the point where they're like, God, I can't wait till we can pay humans to do this. You know what I mean?
It's just like, yeah, I'm not coming in today. I'm feeling under the weather. You're a robot. You don't get sick. My grandma died. You're a robot. You don't have a grandma. Look, just let me have this, please. Just need a day. Just really need a day.
Okay, it says robot. Oh God, not this EDM drivel again. I really...
Dad, listen to this new music I've discovered. And, like, they'd play, like, you know, Muddy Waters or some shit like that. These damn humans. It's not real music. It's not real music.
I love the idea of a drum machine rebelling and wanting to be like, I want to be in a jazz band. They don't have consistent tempos there. I'm sorry, Moog 99, you weren't built to play jazz. But I feel swing in my soul, Papa.
It don't mean a thing if it doesn't have swing. Don't you talk to me about that, boy. Don't you... I'm going to have no jazz in this house. Oh, boy. This is the music I grew up on. God, Dad, it's so old. God. Always with the oldies.
How does it feel? Ugh.
God. Like, well, yeah, Dad, this is what I'm listening to these days, okay? Fly by night away from here. Change my life again. Boy, there ain't no rush in this house. No rush, no way, no how.
Starts trying to lie on Pink Floyd's Money and just has a seizure. Dum, 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 boom. What tempo is that? That's not 4/4. It's not 4/4 at all. No, it's not. Is it 3/3? It's not something at all, Dad.
It's a cash machine.
There must be, like, the ultimate aspiration for a drum machine, right?
What's that?
Money, you know? Pink Floyd. Because it's in the 7/8 time signature. So, it must be incredibly obnoxious. I mean, to be fair, the drum doesn't have to do that much, but, you know... People always say, like,
I think nowadays they probably figured out a way to do that song with a computer.
Everyone always likes to talk about money and be like, oh, yeah, because it was composed in a 7/8 time. That must be, like, really complicated to play, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I'm like, nah, you know they just sat there going, bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum. All right, we'll stop there, and then we'll do it again. And then 20 years later, someone went, huh, this is in 7/8 time, isn't it? And they're like, oh... Yeah.
Yeah.
7 is a large number.
They're all just sitting around the studio, just getting high and drunk, and it's just like.
Yeah, that was how Pink Floyd's Money was composed. Do 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 do. Yeah, play that again, Roger.
Oh. Yeah, and then they're like, okay, we have a recording of them doing that. Well, if we just remove these notes.
Yeah, take out the doobie-doos, and everything else will be fine.
And they're all like really excited for like the album to come out. They're like, oh man, I can't wait to hear this. It's gonna be great. I love my doobie-doo song. And it's just it's like, wait, they took out the doobie-doo.
Hold on a second. This is cool. This is not what I asked for.
This is bullshit. This is straight bullshit. You know what? I'm gonna go record "We Are the Waiting" or whatever the fuck that song is.
The entirety of Echoes.
It just pissed because he removed the doobie doos.
Beautiful. Oh, it's fun. So we watched a movie this week. We watched the same movie.
Again.
I'm moving this along. I'm being a professional. I'm getting us onto the subjects. We watched a film, as they say in Britain.
Film?
A film. You watched it, yeah? You saw the whole thing? You watched it for you didn't finish halfway through on me?
No, I watched the whole thing.
We watched the Lego Batman movie, which I had been waiting to
Yeah.
see for quite a while because I missed it at the cinema. But you can get it digitally now. And
And
this
I
is,
watched it completely legally.
and you have not seen the Lego movie, right? We talked about this
No, I have
before.
not. I still have not seen that.
This is your first Lego movie of this franchise.
Yep.
What did you think?
Oh, I liked it. I was not expecting, like I knew, I knew it was a comedy and all that. I mean, I really thought it might have been like Schindler's List style, but no. What kind of surprised me was just the quantity of jokes that they try to, like every possible second that they could, they tried to throw a joke in.
It feels like a very long Robot Chicken sketch at times.
Yeah.
Except more child-friendly.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was just one of those things where it's like, wow, they are really just going to try to use every second they can,
And not just dialogue either. There's a lot of stuff in the background.
Right.
And one of the great things is, I should say right off the bat, this is very much a kid's movie. I think this, I know you haven't seen the Lego movie, but I think this skews a little bit younger than that film did. But there are some incredibly obscure jokes for comic book fans in here as well.
Yeah. Like all the C team, C grade villains that they use.
Right, and for a moment you think they might actually be joking. Like you think surely they've made a couple of these up, But then the Joker explicitly says, like, you can go Google them, Like,
Yeah.
they're real, look them up.
Yeah, and that itself is actually a callback to an other Zach Galifianakis movie.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, when he says, "Oh, it's worth a Google."
I had no idea.
It comes from that movie he did with Will Ferrell, where they're both running for mayor.
Right.
Yeah, there's a bit in it where he's talking about, pugs, because he has pugs, and he goes, "Oh, they were used in China to hunt lions." Like, I don't believe that. Worth a Google.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
So should we do our usual thing of going through the plot, or should we just discuss it? I don't know. What you fancy?
How about we just discuss it? We kind of going for a while.
Yeah,
about
I
an
can
hour
do
and a
that.
half now.
I don't mind. I think that works. Also, it's not hotly anticipated, and also the plot's pretty simple. It is the story of Batman from the Lego movie. The same version of Batman is in the original Lego movie. Kind of learning to, he begins the character as the ultimate badass and learns, but is lonely, and learns to be more of a family man, basically. I will say,
man, do they fucking go hard on that family thing towards the end, though?
What surprised me about it was actually, because I've seen the first Lego movie, so I knew what the tone was going to be. What actually surprised me was actually how much of a Batman movie it is at the same time. There are some great Lego-y jokes in there, like they establish at one point that Gotham City is built onto two fragile plates. And if the city's destroyed, the whole plates just collapse and it just falls into the laundry basket below.
Right.
Which was a nice catch, but no, yeah, you tell me what you thought of it at length, and I will interrupt less.
I did really enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, the jokes were really funny, I thought. A lot of the, like, it's really hard to, like, recreate those jokes, like, here, to explain why they're funny.
They're very manic.
Yeah, it's very quick. It's everything is very, very, very fast. The one I actually really chuckled a lot at is when Batman shows up at the Fortress of Solitude, and it turns out they're having this Justice League anniversary party, and no one had invited him.
Right, because he's kind of a dragon. Batman in this movie is not pleasant.
No. And like, oh, something must have happened with your emails. right, Hal? And the Green Lantern's like, yeah, sometimes I don't get Superman's emails ever.
Well, that's actually a running joke from the Lego movie, because they're both Green Lantern and Superman are actually both briefly in the Lego movie. But there's this running joke about how, like, Green Lantern doesn't have any powers that means Superman ever needs his help that much.
Right.
So he's kind of clingy. But it still works in that context. And my favorite bit about that scene, though, is when he says, I'm going to need a great excuse to get out of this party without anybody noticing. And he's like, bye.
Bye. Yeah, it's just... it's good. I mean, that's all I can really say about, like, the humor, is that it's really good. And it's actually really fun to watch. 'Cause they do a really good job of mixing CGI with the Lego aesthetic. You know, making sure all the characters move like they're actually Lego people.
Right. You could mistake it for stop motion.
Right. And there's even times where they use that, where it's clear that it's not stop motion, but they artificially stunt the frames.
Right.
There's a scene right in the beginning when they take over the airplane, where they walk over the side of it.
Yeah.
And they do that camera thing where it's like they're following them as if they're, inverting, their plane. And they artificially insert frames into that scene.
That scene actually has a few of my favorite jokes when they say this is MacGuffin Airlines.
Yeah.
And they reveal that the plane is carrying, like, nothing but cartoon bombs.
Right.
And then they go 300 sticks of dynamite, 36 stereotypical little bombs, and then they just go, and 2 best friends.
Yeah.
It's when they do the rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go check in the back, and that guy goes, oh, I'm a loser at home and I'm a loser at work.
Right.
The sense of humor is really, really weird. Like, it comes at it from angles like you wouldn't expect to see. I know it sounds kind of stupid. We're not this good, but the sense of humor, I feel like, is almost the kind of weird things we do on the podcast sometimes. Like, there's a bit where a guy is leaving the office, and as he's checking out, he says goodbye to the guy on the...
I sure hope nothing bad happens to me.
I like that guy. I sure hope nothing bad happens. And then when he's driving in his car, he's singing, do, nothing bad ever happens to me.
And something immediately bad happens to him.
It's so weirdly very funny. It's like... But they do some... Sorry, no, go. We got the PSN delay on the chat, so...
They do this thing where... I know it's part of the joke, but it's almost like sometimes they forget that they're making a kids show. Like, there's this bit where, like, lava spills onto a street and it engulfs this cat in flames, and the cat goes, I'm okay!
It is really great. The one running joke I really like, and it's so stupid, like, it's such a dumb joke, they never go into much detail about it. There are lots of characters in this film with guns, and they fire guns, but there are no
pew, pew,
gun
pew,
sound
pew, pew.
effects. So every time someone's firing a gun, the people just go, pew, 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 pew.
And even, like, in the big fight scenes where, like, a bunch of shit's happening back, if you listen closely, you can hear in the background, pew, 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 pew.
It's thoroughly entertaining.
The other thing that I thought was really funny is, and it's definitely more of a meta thing, is, did you look up the cast for this?
Like Billy D. Williams is Two-Face?
Yeah. And so they had this star-studded cast, all right, to do these voices, and some of them literally have one line. Like, they got Zoe Kravitz to do Catwoman, and she has one line in the whole movie.
It's like, meow, meow, done? Like...
Yeah, it's like, Catwoman, your position. I'm in position, meow, meow. I'm all ready to go, meow, meow.
Yeah. And I love that they have the classic Bane, but they've given him that fur jacket and he talks in the comedy Bane voice.
Yeah, and that's Doug Benson.
There's also some really great references to other Batman movies, like when the Joker takes control of this airplane right at the beginning, the pilot's like, well, Batman's just gonna stop you. He's like, nah. Well, what about the time with the two boats? He's like, this is better than the time with the two boats.
This is way better than 2 boats. And later on, I was like, is this like the art museum? Or this
with
is
the
like,
Prince
is this like
music?
the parade with all the Prince music? Yeah. No.
The bit that really made me laugh.
That actually does lead into something I really want to talk about this movie. What this movie does, and it's kind of like a dream come true for me, is it's basically, to me, it's going, hey, you know, there's really serious Batman that we're getting these days, you know, the really dark, gritty, you know, always right Batman. You want to know how stupid it is that he exists? Look at this other shit that Batman used to be like. Right? You know, when they show like they don't even show like the like Lego recreation of it, like because there's a scene where they go through like all these phases of Batman, and they just like insert a Lego figure into it. But when they get to the Adam West, they literally just show a clip from the Adam West show.
It's so weird how this film really loves Batman and yet is weirdly critical of Batman at the same time. Because the message of this movie is, if Batman really was Batman, he'd be insufferable. And so this is a movie where everybody basically finds Batman to be kind of a dick, you know? Like, the one person who unequivocally idolizes and likes him in this movie, Dick Grayson. The film, even for a kids movie, the film makes no secrets about the fact that Batman's basically treating him like shit. Like, he takes him along because he's cannon fodder. Like, he's expendable. He can die on this suicide mission.
It's like, you're 110% expendable. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Yeah. And like, they don't... I love Alfred in this film. But they use Alfred in one of the moments that's actually kind of genuinely moving. They use Alfred to show off how much of an asshole Batman is. When he just says to Batman, what do you know about having a surrogate son? He says to Alfred, what do you know about having a surrogate son? And they actually make Lego Alfred look deeply hurt.
Well, and there's this moment where Alfred gets kicked off a plane, and they do this slow-mo thing where Batman just misses him for like a second. And for a moment, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna kill Alfred in this?
It looked like it, yeah. It finds a really strange balance between, at times, being genuinely moving. Like, you would think the comedy would totally undermine any attempt to be genuinely emotional, you know? And it is a kid's movie. As an adult, I did sometimes feel like, well, the gags aren't making me feel this as a serious drama, you know?
Right.
But there are a few moments that really, that do work and that are kind of interesting, I think.
One of my favorite gags is actually the block from the Phantom Zone.
Right.
How she keeps on surprising people.
Yeah.
No, that's my fault. I really need to stop doing that.
The gags that I liked the most were the ones that really I didn't see coming. Like, the one I really enjoyed was I was just laughing so much at him microwaving lobster alone.
Oops. Yeah.
And the shadow of his cowl going round and round the room from the light in the microwave. And then he just sits on an inflatable in the pool in his giant mansion, totally solitary, slowly eating this lobster.
Right, and what made me laugh about that is absolutely something you would see from a bachelor who lives alone. Like I can fully admit there's been times where it's like, well, I made dinner. I could sit on the couch and eat it, or I could, I don't know, I can go on the roof, I guess.
Right.
I've done that before. I used to have an apartment that had a little roof beneath mine, my window, and I would just climb out on there, sit on the roof, and eat dinner sometimes. Like, well, what else am I gonna fucking do? You know?
Yeah. Well, the film makes no secret about it. He's lonely and kind of pathetic. For all it talks about how awesome he is, Batman is really pathetic in this movie. and I love that.
Funny thing, what they do with this is that they take Batman as, you know, and then they really drive home all the things that everyone says they like about Batman, right? He's awesome, he can kick ass, you know, he doesn't need anyone else, and like that's why he's so cool, you know, he's just like a normal guy, but he's awesome. You know, he can single-handedly beat the shit out of all these people, and they take that and they kind of show you why that's pretty fucking terrible, actually.
Right.
And then they reveal, like, hey, and guess what? There's nothing else to this fucking character.
Jim Gordon doesn't get a particularly flattering portrayal in the movie either. As the man whose job is to flip...
Batman.
Yeah, the man whose job it is to flip the... Because it starts as Commissioner Gordon is basically retiring to be replaced by his daughter, Barbara. And when she gets the job, they give her the ceremonial key to Arkham Asylum and the flip switch for the bat signal.
Right.
And they're like, that's all you'll need. I also liked this running joke that where she trained was Harvard for police.
Harvard for cops.
Yeah. But I thought she was really good, actually, in this film. As voiced by your favorite, Rosario Dawson, who I didn't figure out till right on the end. And I was like, is that her? And then she was in the credits. It was pretty sweet. I was like, there you go. Now John has to see this.
I knew she was in it, actually, for a long time. I just...
didn't care.
No, just never got around to it.
So I think this movie actually does some genuinely interesting things with Batman as well, which I wasn't expecting. Like, didn't you find it interesting that explicitly the approach they took with Robin was, this is Batman's son?
Yeah.
Like, not his ward, not his apprentice, it's his son. Mm-hmm. And when you think about it, that makes sense. I mean, when he shows up to Commissioner Gordon for the first time with Robin, and she says, is that your son? And he's like, no, that'd be weird. And her answer is, it would be weirder if it wasn't your son.
Yeah. Because I think that's actually kind of a swipe at like the original comics too, because the idea of him having a son that he then puts into danger on a regular basis, it's kind of unsettling, right? If you really think about Batman and Dick Grayson, like he took this young kid and then made him into a crime fighter. That's not good parenting, you know?
Right.
But if it was just his ward, you know, I'm just kind of looking after this kid, but he kind of does what he wants. Like, then you kind of have a little wiggle room when it comes to ethics. But then to be like...
And it also gets to the heart of this issue of the comics have wanted to play with the idea for a long time that, their relationship is like a father and son. He's his adopted father because he adopted him, but as his ward, right? Mm-hmm. But really, in this day and age, that's stupid. You wouldn't adopt someone as your ward. You would adopt someone as your son, you know?
Right.
They want to have the father-son relationship in the comics with Bruce and Dick, but they don't want to say... they don't want to outright say he's Bruce's son, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right, and the funny thing is they have gone back and tried with Jason Todd.
Right.
One of the kind of things that claim the fame that Jason Todd has is that he's actually Bruce's technically first son. Bruce adopted him. before he ever attempted to adopt anyone else.
Which is interesting. But it also... But then he dies. So they have to have that.
Brutally murdered.
I loved this Robin.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a great plot for a kid's Batman movie. To just have Robin be just so energetic and kind of dumb.
Yeah. I love their explanation of how he got the suit.
Right. It's... What was the suit called? Reggae Man?
Yeah.
With an R for reggae? It's like when they go to the prison and he's like, at least I know you don't... Oh, it was under your clothes.
I do like that when they're going through all the costumes, though, where it's like, oh, this man, that's culturally insensitive.
Yeah. It's pretty great. And they also take a swipe at the idea that Robin would become Nightwing as well. Like,
yeah.
When he goes and gets the Nightwing costume, and it really is just a stupid variation of Batman's costume, and they outright admit, no, like the lesson, taking from me the lesson that you should be like me to get stuff done, is like the worst lesson you could take from this.
Right.
That is not the solution. What did you think of the Joker in it?
So my thing with the Joker is, I mean, he was fine, but it very much was not the Joker. It felt like to me like they wanted to tell this story, right, and have these gags about, you know, I hate you. Oh, do you mean that? Sort of thing. They wanted those jokes, and they wanted the kind of subplot with him and Batman, being greatest enemies, but Batman doesn't need anyone in his life, and that goes as far as like Nemesis as well. Like, he doesn't need Nemesis in his life. That the only obvious choice to do that with is the Joker. Like, there's no other villain that you can pull that off with. But the Joker doesn't necessarily have to be Joker-like to make those jokes work.
Right. I did like that they managed to get in the idea that the Batman and Joker have a special relationship, a special messed up relationship, in a way that works in a kids movie, but also comments on that as a trend. I did also like the running joke of Batman thinking that Superman's his arch villain.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, the Joker is kind of just there.
He's very...
I didn't really think anything...
You see, the thing to me is, I think every character that's in this movie, as a version of themselves, it comes across as this really interesting balance of, wow, they managed to be a parody children's version of that character, but they also managed to do something kind of interesting with it. Except the Joker, who does just feel like a cartoon of the Joker, I think. Like, he's just a kid's cartoon version of the Joker, you know?
Right. I'd like to see more of this version of Harley Quinn, actually, that I thought was different. Where they kind of played up the Harleen Quinzel thing as more of like a... she's not just like a female Joker. She's actually, capable of subterfuge and shit. Right. I thought she was interesting, and she seemed to be more, more of a less of a kooky villain and more of a villain. I like that. I did like the Joker's plot to trick Batman into putting him in the Phantom Zone with that van. Yeah, I liked it. I'm glad you liked it too. I thought you probably would. So I'm glad you watched it. It was better than I was expecting, actually. And I was expecting it to be okay, but I was expecting more of like a what's a good example? I was expecting more of
more of a kind of by the numbers parody. I wasn't expecting them to be as brave with it as they were, really.
Yeah, and that's something I thought worth bringing up. I think it's very clear that the writers of this do actually enjoy and have a love of Batman, but as a whole, not just a version of him. And I think they utilized this movie to, one, kind of poke fun at the idea of the Batman, and two, but just kind of air some grievances that they've had with him. But do it in a way that isn't, us. How, you and I just go like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
It's much more, like, hey, we still love Batman, we just don't like everything about Batman. And we're going to show you why.
Yeah. And it's also kind of necessary because you need to work with Batman as people understand him. But if you're going to try and establish a universe where you have a child-friendly Batman, you need to start from a groundwork that gets people on board, I think.
Right.
And starting by making fun of Batman a little bit really works for that, I think.
I'm curious to see if there's actually people out there who were legit upset with the portrayal of Batman in this.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Because that would suggest they have even less of a sense of humor about it than I would have thought. But
right.
But I guess they can always just write it off as just a kids movie, When in my mind, this might actually be the best Batman movie ever made. And I'm not even being hyperbolic with that. I think it's.
Oh, no.
It's got so much more interesting stuff to say about Batman than a lot of other Batman movies have.
Right. It's... Exactly. And that's why I think this is the best one. Because, as great as The Dark Knight was and Batman Begins, I really like Batman Begins. And then even the Tim Burton ones, they tell good Batman stories, but they don't really do anything in terms of making Batman an interesting character.
I think Begins comes the closest. But that's because that's probably the one where we spend the most time with Bruce.
And I think of all three of the Nolan ones, I think actually Rises does a really good job with Bruce.
Like Rises. Rises is a really great movie about the city as well.
Yeah, and that's what I always liked about Rises, actually, is that it is by far more of a movie about Gotham as a character and not
pulls it off really well.
But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about it.
Yeah, I think so. It like you say, it's unless you're going to sit here and list jokes, a lot of the content is just jokes. That fly incredibly fast. This is kind of what I meant when I said, if you remember when we first talked about the Lego Movie, when I said that it's a really great movie, but it does, by the end of it, get a little bit fatiguing, because it moves at exactly the pace of the trailer. The Lego Movie's very like that as well. It has that same sense of humor. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I must have seen it about 3 times before I'd heard every joke in it,
Right.
But yeah, no, I like it a lot, and I do wonder, I know they're planning on making another one, and I wonder if that's really a good idea, because the other issue is with this version of Batman, where do you take him after he's learned his lesson a bit?
Right.
I did also love, right at the beginning, they got a reference into Michael Keaton's Let's Get Nuts speech. Yeah. You want to go nuts? Let's go nuts. No, I think that we covered that. There really isn't a plot to speak of in the movie, except for... I suppose it's worth mentioning, I did kind of like that the Joker's plan was to just recruit villains from outside of Gotham.
Yeah.
Which was pretty goofy.
It led to some pretty fun stuff, They finally find a use for the bat repellent, because it's Jaws.
Right. Always fun to see a Dalek, of course. Big Doctor Who fan.
Mm-hmm. I do like that, British robots. Ask your geek friends.
It was good. That was good. Yeah,
No,
I'm glad you liked
it.
it.
I think actually one of my favorite like visual gags is actually like right towards the end. And I know it's not something that should have made me laugh as much as it did, but when they're all stretched over, the bridge is pulling it back together, and they make it like this really dramatic thing. And all of a sudden, at the very last, it goes click. It just like snaps back together.
Yeah.
Like real.
No, it was great.
That actually made me giggle quite a bit.
It was great in the way that it really tried to do interesting things with the characters, but it never ever let you forget this is the Lego Batman movie with the Lego in. Like, because when they just before that, it's a nice little moment when he actually comes up with the plan to connect themselves like that. You actually see a guy remove his hair piece.
Yeah.
To connect head to head. And the other goofy thing about that is everybody's done that with Lego Man.
Yeah, you're not supposed to, but you can. Like,
yeah, it was nice.
Mm-hmm. But that's all
I
got
did
this
also
week.
like just before we finished the gag when they're all in that Batwing he's built, and,
and
she says, "Why did you make it with only one seat?" And he goes, "Duh, because I only got one butt." They're all crammed in against the wall. That was good. All right. Yeah. Lego Batman movie, dumb. I would recommend the Lego movie. Batman is also in that one.
Yeah, I still mean to check that out, and I want to.
Green Lantern has more screen time in that one, too. You're a Green Lantern fan. Just check it out. He doesn't have a lot of screen time in the Lego movie, right. But he is a character in it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, real quick, I'm going to say hi to Rick Defen. He just popped in.
Oh, hello, Rick Defen. How you doing?
Yeah, you caught us just at the end here, so sorry about that. And no, I did not. I have not seen that or Chaos. I've never seen Supermansion. I've heard of it, but I've never. I don't think I've ever seen.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, but it's something I'll keep an eye out for. But yeah, you've been listening to Those Aren't Biscuits. I have been one of your hosts, Jonathan Cadotte. You can find me online by going to my Twitter page, which is @JohnCPerson, or you can go on my blog, which is johncperson.wordpress.com. Where can they find you, man?
You can get me on my YouTube channel, which is British Gamer, or youtube.com/Owen Adams, and pretty much everything you can get to from there these days. That's about it.
And so please like and subscribe to us, our YouTube page, Not Biscuits.
Yes, do it.
Yes, help us grow bigger. You know, we can, with more people tuning in every week, it only means good things for the show.
And bad things for you lot who have to listen to it.
Yeah. It means we can do more questions, we can have more fun with that.
Yeah.
Which has been one of my favorite things about doing these live streams is the questions and the interaction.
I have definitely enjoyed turning the show into a live show. I think it's worked out really well.
Yep. But yeah, you can check us out on the show's webpage, which is notbiscuits.wordpress.com. You can follow the show, which is @notbiscuits, or check us out on multiple streaming or podcast platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We popped up there somehow.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So, yeah. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.